Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
If you love having a laugh and live in Melbourne, then head down to the Rubber Chicken in South Melbourne. It's a dedicated comedy venue. Drink, eat and have fun in the Elliot Goblet Bar on the ground floor. Or head upstairs to Punchlines Comedy Club, featuring Australia's funniest professional comedians. This is Melbourne's comedy hub, and it's also the home of the School of Hard Knock Knocks. So get on down to the Rubber Chicken in South Melbourne.
You're listening to the Hard Knock Knocks podcast with me, Steve Davis.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next comedian.
Shouldn't drink on an empty head, you know that, don't you?
That is the shittiest heckle I have ever heard in my life.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
What's a bucket list?
You have dangerously underprepared yourself for the shit that is about to get real.
Lisa Gatenby is the Peter Pan of stand-up comedy. Having worked in the business of children's toys for many years, Lisa admits she's never grown up and loves to add a level of silliness to her performance. In this interview, you'll learn how Lisa has developed her stand-up comedy skills since graduating from the Hard Knock Knocks comedy course, her upcoming Melbourne International Comedy Festival shows with fellow alumni Jeremy Dooley, and how she had to adjust her language for a US audience, plus much more. And if you're interested in kickstarting your comedy career, check out www.hardknockknocks.com for upcoming courses across Australia. And now, here's host Steve Davis and delightfully childish Lisa Gatenby.
It's glad to be here tonight. I did come all the way from Melbourne. Yes. No wood, I got one. Thank you. Yeah, I moved recently to an inner city suburb called Footscray. I heard it's a lot like Elizabeth. Yeah. On steroids. Yeah, well, the people are so skinny they actually need them. Yeah. But I'll tell you, my mum was super nervous when I moved to Footscray, right? But I don't know, I feel really safe there. Because I know there's always someone out there following me.
Lisa Gatenby, welcome to the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm looking forward to this, and I'm hoping I'll just put a little note here, because I rang the wrong number earlier. There is someone in Australia who's received a message tonight saying, "Call me back to be interviewed." So there could be a double Lisa interview coming down the pipes for the School of Hard Knock Knocks.
I know. I can't wait to hear what the fake Lisa's going to say, whether she's going to be better than me or not.
If she turns
we'll find out, won't we?
If she turns out to be good, do you reckon you'd do a double show with her?
Oh, maybe. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, because I don't know. I'd want her to be not as good. So then, because then she might make me look really bad. So then, depending on her level of goodness.
All right. We'll watch this space, but it's got all the makings of a great story for the project. So it'd just be a free kick for PR.
Oh, yeah.
All the way. Now, back to matters purely the real Lisa. You're the youngest in the family, if I'm correct, and you've got a couple of brothers. And so if we just try to unpack the genesis of your comedy, what do you think's more likely to have been the root of your passion for entertaining? Do you think it was being the youngest, or do you think it was having two brothers?
Yeah, probably. Well, look, I was pretty much the favourite because, why would they stop after me if I wasn't perfect? No, probably, getting a bit of attention and, being the youngest, I guess. Yeah. Look at me kind of thing, I guess.
So it is true, is it? Because I'm the eldest, and so I had to fight for every bit of attention that I got as the next three children uttered forth. So if someone is listening and they are a youngest and they're feeling a bit downtrodden by the world, you've got a message to say, hang in there, exploit it, start using your place in the family, I imagine.
Totally, but I also found that you have a lot less baby photos. By the time you get to like second, third child and so on, Like the first child's got so many photo albums of them because, of course, first baby. And by the time you get to me, it's just like, where am I? Like, did you break the camera on the ugly ones? What's going on?
Actually, that is so true. I've got 2 daughters, and I hope one day they might listen to this. The second one does have markedly less photographs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, wow. There's some...
You're like, they look the same. They look the same. They won't know.
Well, they do for the first few years. Anyway, there was something that caught my eye. I was looking at the PR that was done. You just did a tour of Sydney, didn't you? A few gigs up there?
I did,
yes.
Yeah. It was really fun.
I noticed that the people who were promoting you said Lisa Gatenby is a comedian, a host, a children's storyteller and a toy expert. In what toys are you expert?
Look, I worked in retail head office industry for many, many years. So I've been in retail for nearly 20 years and currently I work in the toy area. So I've done that for many a time. So I know all about what's cool, what's happening, what's coming, what the kids love. And I've got nephews too, so make sure that they know. Or I always get them the best presents because I know exactly what they want.
Now,
so yes, that's why I am the toy expert.
Now, you're the toy expert and you were talking about kids there. Does it surprise you that grown adults get together and have games nights and they play board games and they play with toys? Does that surprise you or do you understand what's going on there?
Oh, totally, yeah. I've got a whole board game cupboard that I created, well, especially after the last 2 years. Everyone wanted puzzles and board games and Lego to build, right? So I myself bought a few extra games and things. So I've got I had to upgrade my game cupboard. So I've got a big stash that half of them I have not even opened.
Oh, wow.
Or played one.
Because there's something. This is
definitely a thing.
This is actually linked to getting into the head, your mind, your comedy mind. Because one thing I've noticed in watching some of your work is there is a curiosity-fueled, I don't want to say silly, but there's a playfulness about your comedy shtick, which is, I think, the same sort of part of the brain that wants to play board games and have fun and just have that release. Do you think do you see a crossover there? Is there something of that same dynamic that you bring on stage that's almost at the heart of the toy and the game sector?
Oh, 100%. So my key thing is whenever I start getting a bit too stressed about comedy or I'm just like, oh, my God, I'm worried about certain gigs, I stop and go, Lisa, why are you doing this? Because it's fun. Just have fun. And every time I go on stage just going out wanting to have fun, I do well because I enjoy myself and the audience enjoys themselves. And I love it. I have a lot of jokes about just silly things. And I just am silly in general. Like my whole thing is just have fun in life. Don't be too serious, really.
And look, it really comes through as well. I just found, even before I had fully grasped a joke that you might have been delivering, there was just something in your style that just, the stage presence, it just makes you want to smile. And I noticed also on that publicity for your Sydney trip, they said, call her Peter Pan because she ain't growing up anytime soon. Do you think you're going to mine this sort of disposition, this mindset, this shtick for a long time? Because it does seem to be infectious.
Well, I don't know if I can get out of it, to be honest. I don't know if I could change. I mean, that's just me, I think. And I love to get into children's comedy. I think there's a huge avenue for that. And so I'm already kind of coming up with characters and different concepts and ideas for kids shows, which I'm pretty excited about. So, I think I'm probably going to angle more into that angle. I think delve deeply into it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens there. And the other thing, while I'm just dissecting you on the slab here for this interview, one thing that is unmistakable about you is that wonderful wild hair that you have. That I don't know, it radiates interest. Is that Has anyone ever said that? And B, how much stock do you put in the physicality of comedy and all those things? Because, yes, we like to all be accepted for our pure essence, but our essence is always embodied in some way. And so there's just something memorable and can't take your eyes off of about your hair in particular.
My big buffy head.
Well, I didn't say that.
Well, I do. No, go for it. I know what it is. You definitely have to embrace it. Like, I grew up through high school with my hair pulled back in a bun, not wanting to put it out. And I remember at school, if there was a photo day, I might take it out and wear it all curly, and people would be like, "Oh, what did you do? Stuck a knife in an electric socket?" And the next day it would go straight back up again. So, but then after school, we realised that I'm like, actually, it's something different. Like I said, and you got to embrace it and just go with it. Like, this is me. So I definitely use it, and I think it is. I try and wear my hair out for most gigs. There are some days when I'm just not having a good hair day. That has to go up, but I do look quite different. I remember when I first started comedy and I started meeting people, like I'd meet them at one gig and my hair would be out, and like a week later I'd see them at another gig and my hair would be up, and they'd be like, "Oh, hi, I'm this person." I'm like, "Yeah, you met me last week." Like I look quite different. So it is definitely a type of feature that you can use.
Now, I don't actually get to say this very often, but I can accuse you of just one little bit of privilege just there, because you did say having a bad hair day. Now, some people like you actually have enough hair that can have a bad hair day. I would kill to be in that.
To have hair.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Don't want to make you jealous of my buff heads.
Maybe that's the attraction,
Look at it. Yeah, but there's maintenance. You don't have any maintenance, see?
Well, that is true.
You don't have to worry about anything.
When that shower goes off, there's a quick towel and we're out the door. Now,
yeah.
I wanted to just track back to the beginning days of comedy for you, especially as you formalised it, because you did the School of Hard Knock Knocks stand-up comedy course in 2018, I believe. And soon after, you performed at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival a couple of times. Now, there's a few things I want to unpack there. Firstly, with the School of Hard Knock Knocks stand-up course, which I've done as well, what are a couple of things, if any, that have remained with you, that stuck with you, that you find you're reaching for in your back pocket as you're writing new comedy?
From the course, you mean?
Yeah, from the course or the people you've connected with.
Look, what I really appreciated from the course is, I think, the ongoing element of it. Like, it's not just a course and then 5 nights and you're like, see you later. There's that real group and supportive element, and the ongoing workshops and the ongoing gigs and opportunities that you can get, and just like you make friends with like-minded people, and you kind of have just a group to help and go, and you feel kind of supported from it. I think that's the biggest thing that I liked from the course, I think.
If I reflect on some of the comics that I know who haven't come up through that sort of system, you do get the sense that it can be a lonely game out there. And I suppose I hadn't thought about it this way, but there is that fraternity that you build around you of sort of fellow travellers who are at roughly the same level at the same time, and so you're sort of growing together. I had really undervalued that aspect of it. Thank you. That's a really... Yeah, I think they could almost make something more of that in the way they promote the cause.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Yeah, okay.
Now, because we're talking there about the alumni in many ways, the people that you then have that in common. And there's one person in particular, Jeremy Dooley. You've got a couple of shows coming up this year, and one of them is I believe a show with Jeremy. Can you tell us what it's all about and and how you decided to do that two-hander with him.
Well, so this year I was definitely ready to do something for the festival. Prior, I'd only done like line-up shows. There's a lot of spots and line-up shows you can do throughout the festival without actually producing your own show. So this year I was like, no, I'm going to do it, and not ready to do my own solo show yet. And yeah, Jeremy is a very enthusiastic, very keen guy that's just willing to jump on any opportunity, and he's we've got very similar jokes, and it just made a really cool theme. So it's called Third Life Crisis, and it's just about we're both going through our 30s, and everyone else around us is, got families and, kids and houses and everything, they're ticking all the boxes, and we're just like, oh, are we meant to have ticked all those boxes? So we've just got it's kind of a very similar vibe. So that is what the show is all about. And 6 shows in the festival in the last week of school holidays and the last week of festival. So get along to it.
So am I basically hearing that you're thinking to yourself, I wanted my own show, haven't got enough material yet, I'll use Jeremy, he can fill out the other half. Is that what you're saying, really?
Well, yes, and also, do you know what? It's the admin part of the show the putting a show together was really stressful. Like actually registering and all that process, and there's still so much to do. We're still going to sell all the tickets, and it just the whole part of it was like that was the stressful part for me. Just like I don't know what to do, and like what do I have to fill in, and all these sheets, but. I'm excited for it. So the show, and yes, I don't have a full hour yet. I'm not going to pad out and just do a crap half show when I'm not quite ready. And it's nice to have, again, like that sort of supportive network. So if 2 of us are going in, then, 2 of us can do the workload and help promote it and all that sort of thing as well.
Yeah. And what made you think that you're ready to do a festival show? I mean, we didn't have the full hour, but there must have been something burning inside of you that said, no, this is the moment. I'm going to do this. What is it? What is that voice that makes you say, you know what, it's now or never?
Well, to be honest, I'm frustrated this year because I think the last 2 years have just been bloody annoying and written off so much time that I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to do it this year. I don't care. I've also got another show that I'm doing with 2 other comics, Artie, Vincent, and Pradeepa Timmermans. So we're doing it. So I'm doing 2 different shows. So I'm just like, yep, let's do it. Why not? I'm just giving it a crack this year. I'm just throwing myself into everything because I feel like I had wasted time the last 2 years. Obviously out of my control with, a pandemic. What was that? But yeah, so this year it's time. That's it.
Do you think there'll be a similar vibe?
I don't want to waste anymore.
Yeah, do you reckon there'll be a similar vibe at the audience level? People saying, you know what, we're just going to get out, we're going to buy some tickets, we're going to go and see some stuff? Or do you think there still might be some cabin fever habits of staying inside?
Oh, I don't know. The last 2 weeks of gigs have been pretty good. Like it was early Jan was very quiet because I think everyone that could have COVID had it. And then now, so you've either had it or you just kind of over it and you're like, I'm just coming out to do some stuff now. So I think people are just doing things now. Like I think they're a bit over it. So hopefully, we've nearly sold our Saturday show. There are not many tickets left for Saturday. So people are booking in.
That's a good sign.
Coming along.
Now, just before we move on from your span of doing comedy, over the past 3 years, how has your comedic voice changed, if it has?
Oh, voice or like style?
Well, your style, the delivery perhaps, the content, the topics. Has there been a change over the 3 years that you can put your finger on it?
Oh, you would hope so, yeah, because I was very early on, all I was joking about was being a redhead, and sleeping with my brothers. That's all I could come up with, you know. That was, I had some incest jokes back in the day. You know, there's only a small amount of topics that you kind of can write about when you start. I think, like, I wasn't a natural writer. I love performing, so I love being on stage. I've grown up performing. So me, it was learning how to write jokes and learning how to write jokes people were laughing at. So that's been my progression. So from then to now, I feel like I've got a good understanding of the joke writing. So from back then, I was just trying anything and everything and whatever was working. And I was doing a lot more just goofy stuff. You know, I grew up wanting to be a clown, so I was just jumped on stage and like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why aren't people laughing at this? What's going on? So it was just learning that element of it, and it's only now that I want to try and bring some of that goofiness back in, and you know, and look into kids comedy and all that sort of stuff, and more physicality, more physical comedy, more characters. So it's only now I've kind of got an understanding of what works. It's like, right, now I want to try some stuff. But I think early on you should just try everything and anything, because you don't know what works. You don't know what your thing is, you know, what people connect with.
Yeah. Now, I normally ask people on this podcast how they got stage time to refine your comedy. It is a very pointed question for you, because 2 of those last 3 years have been, you know, rubbed out, if you like, by COVID. So how have you managed to get stage time?
Well, obviously not when everything was closed, but I did this past year. I did get to a point where I started doing Zoom comedy. I was like, I've just got to do something. So if I'm not gigging and I'm not doing comedy, then I kind of don't think about it. So it helps me really keep my brain in it and keep writing comedy while everything was on lockdown. And then as soon as it opened, I was just like getting as many gigs as I could just to get all the rust off. I think the first gig back out after this past long lockdown, I was just yelling every joke at people. I'm like, here's my jokes, I'm so excited! I was just so amped up to be out and on stage again. I didn't know how to speak properly.
And also, tell me if I'm wrong, US, have you performed in the USA?
Yeah, I went on a holiday just before the world went to I was going to, am I allowed to say it? No. Went to poop. And so that was November 2019, and I was in New York. And so I did a few open mics there, and then I went to Hawaii, and I was doing, basically every night I was in Hawaii, I was doing a gig there as well. So yeah, it was really fun.
Much difference between their audiences and our audiences?
They don't seem to swear. So even
really
saying shit, yeah, like I really had to pull any bit of swearing back, because I'm like just watching any other comics and none of them swore at all. And that's kind of just in our normal vocabulary over here. And no, they understood most things. You've just got to make it relevant, and the words. I remember in New York back in the day, I had Barbie jokes. See, I have a lot of toy jokes, see? And I was saying stuff about Barbie, and this lady afterwards, and she was like full New York, and she's like, you know, it was so, I can't do a New York accent. That was so great, like, but I couldn't understand when you said Barbie. And I was like, oh, yeah. So then next time I said it, I was like, oh, I've got this, or whatever, Barbie's 60 years old, or as you guys say, Barbie. And then they were on board. So sometimes you just had to add an extra element to it or change the words. Like I've got a joke about pokies, but they call it slot machines. So you just have to change the words so they understand what you're actually talking about. But everything, like, they laugh at the same things.
Well, that's good. They probably vote in the same sort of politicians. In your circles, though, headliners, as you've been watching or performing in different places around the place, are there any headline acts that you've been inspired by and that you've picked up a couple of things from them that you like to experiment with yourself?
There's no one I can think of like that inspired certain styles, but I just think I've learnt from just everybody I've watched, and so many of the greats that have been doing it for like 30-odd years. You know, you do regional gigs with Dave O'Neill and Richard Stubbs and stuff, and you're just like, whoa, right, this is like, by the time I get this good, I'm going to be dead, you know, and like it's just a long slog, I think. Like the frustrating thing is you can't just learn it like that. Like you have to do the years, you have to do the time. So I think it's just watch anyone that's years ahead of you, and you learn so much from it. And then as I'm getting to know more comedians, watching more things, it's probably just opening up my mind to different options, I guess.
Wow. Well, look, Maury will put some details about your shows up when this goes out and about. But my final question is, if anyone's listening into this who is starting out in comedy, in stand-up, what sort of things would wise old Peter Pan-like Lisa Gatenby say to them?
I'm like, you're calling me old but young right then.
Exactly. I love paradox.
I would say, like, when you first start out, as I said, try everything. Do everything, gig as much as you can. Who cares if you bomb? Just learn from everything. Run a room if you can. I did that early on as well, and you learn a lot just about how comedy works in general, the industry of it. You meet so many people, so many more comedians, and they'll get to know you as well. So just try anything. Just give anything a go.
Well,
doesn't matter. Like you don't know what you're doing early on, so just give anything a crack.
All right. Well, I'll let you get back to what are you up to tonight? Playing with some toys that you've brought home from work?
No, I actually have to learn my script for tomorrow's storytelling session. So
I love
do
it.
That.
Never
do
rest.
That tonight.
Lisa Gatenby, thanks for joining the School of Hard Not Knocks podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.